Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'd like to welcome you all here today, Your Excellencies, our patron Sheikha Dr. Hind Abdulaziz bin Hamid Al-Qasmi, in her absence at the moment. We would welcome, and I'll give you the true introduction at least a little later. Unfortunately, firstly, I'd just like to thank you to everyone here who is here. We know what the weather outside looks like. Are you enjoying the rainy weather, by the way? Yes? And we have so many people here from Africa, and you thought you ran away from the rain to come to the hot, sunny weather of Dubai, right? Yes? All are Africans? Yes? Well done. We welcome you, and we tell you that here in UAE, you see anything and everything is possible. So whether you're in the desert or no matter where you are, you see skyscrapers and you also see lots of rain and lots of thunderstorms. So those of you who intended to come to the hot, sunny weather, inshallah, as you can see, it is opening up and the sun is starting to begin. So once again, to those of you who just got seated, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, Your Excellencies, members of the diplomatic communities, thank you for joining us here. We have quite a few consulates of the embassies that have joined us. Our host, the Center for Economic Leadership Development, Obrix UAE and Training Excellence South Africa. Esteemed special guest of honor, our very cerebral global women leaders that are seated here in front of us, right at these first few tables in front of us. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, the reason that we are here today as well is very much because of the ladies that are actually sitting in these two tables that are right in front. So I think a round of applause for all of them, ladies and gents. And of course, the distinguished ladies and gentlemen that have decided to join us here on this rainy day, away from your office environment, away from your families, and rather spending time in this room with powerful women and men that are working towards making our society a better society for all of us to live in. My name is Hawa Shafare. And for those of you who don't know me, I am the CEO of Training Excellence South Africa, and I'm the CEO of Obrix UAE in Dubai. Also, and the 4 years in a row, I'm very proud to say that we have partnered with Dr. Ken Giami from the Center for Economic Leadership Development to be able to bring to you the SAMU Summit as a partner here in Dubai. And a round of applause to Dr. Giami, who has constantly, together with Mrs. Giami, brought the SAMU's event to UAE, and this year, the 7th year in a row. So I think a round of applause for Dr. Giami. And Mrs. Giami, of course. In fact, he'll tell you the story. It was all founded by Mrs. Giami. And of course, like a very smart woman, we actually get the men to do a lot of our work, right, Dr. Giami? Let me tell you a little bit about the Center for Economic Leadership Development. So the Center for Economic Leadership Development is a leading gender empowerment, human capacity, and development-based organization renowned as a catalyst and thought leader in developing the theory and practice of inclusive leadership, educational and socio-economic empowerment of emerging economies, particularly in Africa, but also in developing countries in the Middle East, South America, and Asia. The organization was duly registered on the 18th of June, 2008. Obrix Dubai and Training Excellence South Africa offers its services as a training arm of CLD for women leadership development in Africa, USA, China, and Middle East. And that is one of the companies that I've been heading up, and very proud to say that we've been working with Dr. Giami for the last 4 years in various countries, developing women on leadership masterclasses. In fact, just yesterday and day before, we ran a masterclass here for women who traveled all the way from Africa, and we completed a 2-day leadership masterclass program for them, for a 2-day program, and today you will see that they will be graduating through that program here today. So some of those ladies are here already, and sitting here to my right are some of them, so I think a round of applause for their hard work and effort that they actually put in. We empower the men and women folk. And here's the thing, ladies and gents, what I found in my career as a leadership development expert, we found that if we are just looking at empowering women, we're not going to get anywhere, ladies. We talk about women empowerment, but what about creating inclusive empowerment, because sometimes we find that the men are not participating as part of the actual program. We empower them continuously for peak performance. One of the ways CLD and its partners achieve this is through our bespoke and open trainings, specialized gender-based conferences and summits, women empowerment initiatives, children and youth educational empowerment initiatives, such as the flagship, which is Send a Child to School Today campaign, and other capacity building programs. And you will find more information about that in your leaflets as well. I personally am involved in conducting some of these training through which we strive to improve public and private sector players' ability to meet the challenges of a changing world and communicate effectively with their constituents and stakeholders. We also offer limitless possibilities through our top-notch, highly inspiring gender conferences and summits, very much like this one, held across major cities in the world and within the serene and beauty of five-star venues and wonders of the world. The South America, Africa, Middle East, Asia Women's Summit, which you know as SAMUs, is an unprecedented summit aimed at bringing together the most influential and prominent women as well as key stakeholders from these regions under one roof. And ladies and gents, just look around the room and you will notice that these people look like very ordinary people, but you are amongst very influential women here in the room and men. And this is the aim of what Dr. Ken Giami and Center for Economic Leadership Development is doing, is to look at how do we actually connect these people, but instead of just connecting, is looking at how do you leverage off these connections. And I think one of the things about women leadership is that we're so good at connecting, we're so good at socializing, but how often when you leave here today do you actually leverage off that connection? And we're hoping that today is one of those days that you can not just connect, but also leverage and become real communicative collaborations that is going to come out of this. The summit has proven to be the premier gathering of women and key stakeholders from South America, Africa, Middle East, and Asia, with a record attendance of delegates from 35 countries from the maiden 2013 edition to date. Leaders from various economies such as Bahrain, India, Bangladesh, China, Myanmar, Qatar, all regions of Africa, the United States, and the UAE form part of the past participants of this summit. This year, today, with the theme set as Developing Female Transformational Leaders, a new paradigm for growing emerging economies, on behalf of the Board of Management of Center for Economic Leadership Development and the Amazon's Women's Watch magazine, a publication of CLD, Obrig's Dubai, and Training Excellence South Africa, I have the honor today to serve you here together with celebrating top female executive officers of both the public and the private sectors at this year's 7th edition of the South America, Africa, Middle East, Asia Women's Summit. We are in a room today, ladies and gents, where entrepreneurs, political women, diplomats can all together build the foundation of making new friends and extending business networks across the globe. We trust that today is just the beginning for many business and personal opportunities here today. So to begin our actual program, and once again, I apologize for the delay. However, we will be now starting and commencing. I would like to call upon Dr. Giami to come and do the welcome address for us. Dr. Giami is the president of CLD Trustees, and Dr. Giami is an African entrepreneur and media owner, a leading voice for Africa's economic appeal. Dr. Ken is the founder and CEO of also the African Leadership Magazine, UK, and he runs these programs all over Africa, UK, and the US as well, an emerging leader in promoting African excellence, achievement, and opportunities globally, and publishers of the influential African Leadership Magazine. Without further ado, Dr. Giami to open up with the welcome address. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hawa. I had to come up quickly because I didn't want to have to read all of the introduction. But it's always a beautiful experience to be in the presence of amazing people like you. And we're very proud of the work women are doing, not just in the Middle East here, but also across the developing world. So permit me to start by recognizing a very distinguished chairperson of the CELD Global Advisory Board, and that's talking about Dr. Mrs. Hannatu Fika. You're welcome, madam. And other board members here present, Dr. Elizabeth Lungu Nkumbula. You're welcome, madam. Mrs. Nona Trilly. You're welcome, madam. And while we look forward, we also want to specially appreciate our patron who graciously supported us, Sheikha Hind bint Abdulaziz Al-Qasimi. I believe, I hope the rains would work. Let's see how it goes. And some of our very distinguished honorees who are already seated here, distinguished panelists, speakers. I don't want to have to call your names because the MC will do that at the right time. And distinguished members of the diplomatic community here present, business leaders, public servants, my friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm happy today, one of the few Samuels where you see several gentlemen. So thanks for coming. Can we put our hands together for the gentlemen seated here? Yeah, this is a brief, very brief welcome address because we have very seasoned women leaders who are here to share their experiences and so we can learn too. So I'll just make mine very brief, but I'm pleased to welcome you all to the 7th edition of the South America, Africa, Middle East, Asia Women's Summit, which has proven to be the premier gathering of the most influential women from these developing regions. As some of you may know, SAMUS has been organized over the years by Center for Economic and Leadership Development with support from our partners, like Howard mentioned, and as an organization currently in special consultative status with the United Nations Economic and Social Council since 2012, we have continued to advance our partnerships with public and private sector organizations at different stages to primarily offer limitless possibilities to women of various status, to children as well as youth, because we believe that until society begins to effectively harness the potentials of its better half, then we will still be far from where we should be. And one of the ways we achieve this is through the annual SAMUS program. With its maiden edition that took place in 2013 at the Atlantis de Palm, until date, we have been able to host over 2,500 delegates from at least 32 countries and consistently showing up for the cause of women all over the world, and especially for women in developing nations. We have also hosted over 18 sitting first ladies of nations, over 250 CEOs of major businesses, female CEOs now, and distinguished lawmakers from both the US and across. And today, our focus has shifted. We believe that until the private sector is fully mobilized in an inclusive fashion, where women are not just a part of it, but leading that charge, that we will still be far from where we should be. And that's why the theme of the 7th edition of SAMUS is developing female transformational leaders, a new paradigm for growing emerging economies. We are all familiar with the facts and figures that women in business, in politics, and in other spheres of society face historical and systemic obstacles in gaining power, oftentimes not valued sufficiently enough as leaders, and seemingly working in a system that is being very patriarchal in system. For example, in sub-Saharan Africa, the number of women in parliament, though it grew in 2018, is still a small 23.7%. So that tells you what the percentage of men in parliament are. We also found from the recent 2019 edition of the Biennial Interparliamentary Union Map of Women in Politics that the scenario is even worse in some of the other developing regions of the world. This is not just an issue in Africa, as it is prevalent in many developing nations. Again, available statistics show that at the senior management level, the Asian economies have just 26% female representation at the top level of leadership in businesses. 18.4% in Indonesia, 32%, which is about the best in the Philippines, and China averages just about 12.7% female board representation. This is a far cry from what it should be if the developing world must lead the world. Therefore, the objectives of the 2019 edition of SAMUS is quite necessary as a platform for leaders to explore what unique approaches and models are available to develop female transformational leaders in the developing world and encourage more women to support each other as transformational leaders so as to improve overall performance in the society. Some of the objectives are also to exchange experiences, share lessons learned, and best practices in developing diversity of skills and female leadership in the society, and more profoundly, to encourage those who are pace setters, women who are pace setters, by celebrating their achievements and encouraging them to do more for the sake of womenhood everywhere. I am therefore very pleased to say a big welcome to all of you who are here today. And I want to thank our friends, the local people from Dubai here, who have found the time. Of course, I know the percentage of those who traveled is significantly lower than those who are locals. Thanks for continuing to shine the spotlight on the issues affecting women everywhere. And I also want to thank the business professional world led by Asheka, who have been very helpful up to this extent. I therefore encourage all of us participating here today to feel free to ask questions. Make sure you network with your colleagues. The purpose of this meeting is to create bonds across regions. So if you live here today and you've not built relationships, not just to share cards, but to leverage those relationships to further the discussions, to set up meetings, follow-up meetings, and by so doing, strengthen the bonds between ourselves. Because there's more that unites us than that divides us. We are firstly a people faced with common challenges, but with equal opportunities. Let's encourage one another to find those meaningful opportunities and become the best we can be, not just for ourselves and our families, but for the developing world at large. On that note, thank you for giving me your attention, and have a wonderful day. Thank you very much, Howard.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ken. And as always, I think one of the key factors from what he says there is women that have already achieved and got to where they are is how do we actually start helping other women to be able to achieve and guide them in terms of their challenges that they're having.